I'm 48 hours removed from my finish at the Leadville 100 MTB. I had a good day and came in almost precisely between a large belt buckle and a small belt buckle as far as time is concerned. So that means a small buckle in a material sense. But from an emotional standpoint, well, it means that many of the thoughts I expressed in my previous video about my pre-race doubts were accurate in ultimately predicting what I would need to focus on for a successful day, at least by the standard I set for myself. And I feel pretty good about that, especially given how much coaching and training advice I give out to athletes regarding sports psychology. It's important for me to come through in moments like these with realistic and pragmatic demonstrations of the mental side of competing in sports. There are far too many psychologists and counselors out there with almost no skin in the game, making a lot of what they say suspect from an athlete's perspective, even when the guidance is founded in research. But I promise that if I offer advice to you, whether it's a coping skill or a means to improving your mindset going into a competition, I've tested it in real life. I mean, I probably read it in a book or took it in a class, but I put it to the test before I promoted it to you or anyone else. Speaking of being tested, the Leadville 100 MTB will do that to you and more. Can I say this without it sounding critical? It's the weirdest fucking mountain bike race I have ever done in my life. And I say that with complete respect and admiration for what this race really is. A crucible. A beautiful, savage crucible that takes every opportunity to break you into little pieces. I've done tough races before, and this isn't that. Accepting that is a key to getting through the day. I would actually say that acceptance is one of the best assets you can take into this race, as well as one of the best things you can learn during it. Things might not go your way, and being able to roll with whatever happens and just move on to the next thing is important, even if you're not happy about whatever it is.
Sure.
It's the perfect event for a person who enjoys the works of the Stoics or considers themselves a modern day practitioner of Stoicism. I had 100 miles to ponder some of my favorite quotes and passages and apply them when my mind was clear enough to do so. That was a moment-to-moment endeavor given everything that was going on and how much was being demanded of me. And the demands are never ending. From the moment you cross the starting line to, well, whatever ends your race. But in the interim, you have a lot going through your mind. Did I train enough? Am I drinking enough? Should I eat again? Are my tires going flat? Is that the next climb? Are we doing that descent? Why does my ass hurt so much?
Etc., etc., etc.
There are moments when you find yourself thinking,
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
and then those moments pass, and you find yourself thinking,
How did I get here?
that process repeats and alternates for almost the entire duration of your time on the course. If you're familiar with the concept of an OODA loop, this race is an OODA loop within an infinite number of OODA loops. It's OODA loops all the way down. And it doesn't matter how good you are on a bike because it will mess with you. And it might even keep messing with you long after the race is over. I've seen a few examples of that on social media, to be sure. And that's what I'd like to talk about here, because there are lessons to be learned in the aftermath of any inflection point in a person's life. And sporting events that take lots of time and resources to participate in often fall into this category of inflection point because of how much they affect our personal identities. As in, who do I think I am? And did this race confirm that belief or make me question it? And at the heart of identity is understanding the intrinsic motivation that propels a person into something as challenging as the Leadville 100 MTB. So this video isn't so much a race report or a review of the Leadville 100 MTB. It's more of a rider report and a review of the behaviors that made themselves known as a result of the race. One thing I noticed in the race aftermath on social media is that people who had the how figured out but didn't have a good why for the race seemed strangely disappointed in either their standings or the race itself. Even the racers who finished well ahead of me and received the larger buckles still complained. They often started with, I'm an experienced cyclist with X number of years racing and I don't understand the appeal of this event after completing it. This is a common opener before the venting starts. And it all seems to be part and parcel with the motivation for signing up for this race in the first place. Much like logic, a flawed premise begets a faulty conclusion. In the case of the Leadville 100 MTB, the premise often revolves around its race reputation in the cycling world. And that can lead to attracting the wrong type of competitor. They come into the event to see what all the hype is about, and that's the wrong way to do it. Don't sign up for the Leadville 100 MTB because of the hype. Sign up because you need to be tested, really tested at your core. You'll find out some things about yourself as you ride past unconscious cyclists receiving medical aid, send sketch-filled descents at over 60 kilometers an hour, and have to hike a bike sections with hundreds of other riders in air so thin you're not even sure it's there. There's just no hype at 11,000 feet. Trust me. As a result, Leadville isn't a race so much as a test of character. I saw people DNF who demonstrated a strength of character that was not only admirable but inspiring AF as they accepted that they would receive nothing for months or even years of preparation and training. I also saw people finish in the sub-9 category and take home a coveted large buckle who acted like insufferable peons. People are people. That's fine. I also don't want to judge an entire human life on the basis of a pissy social media post, but one of the things that made me a little sad about that last observation is that the biggest complainers were often the best cyclists amongst us. They finished the race, all well and good, and ahead of the majority. But Leadville stripped away their grace and good natures to reveal petulant whiners. Even when they accomplished something worthy of respect at Leadville, they couldn't help but tarnish it for others by griping. And why did it always seem to be a cyclist with a UCI or other major cycling body jersey doing it? At least wear cycling kit with no logos on it so people don't assume your shitty attitude is a reflection of the organization or bike store that has the unfortunate luck of being associated with you. And we all wonder why the general public hates cyclists. Go figure. I'm not trying to mythologize this event any more than has already been done, but I can tell you firsthand that cyclists tend to expect their watts to match their outcomes. Leadville doesn't give a shit about your watts. As a result, many purists who make the trek to Leadville to ride a course that is more or less every type of cycling surface slammed together over 100 miles are going to take exception with a lot of things. Too many to list here if I'm being honest. I get where they're coming from as a cyclist myself and can sympathize to a degree, but I also know that Leadville harbors no secrets. There are no surprises on that course. Not one. All of the climbs are as bad as you've heard. All of the descents are as dangerous as you've heard. All of the choke points on the trails are as congested as you've heard.
And so on and so forth.
But if all you hear is America's highest and hardest one-day mountain bike race and think, I'm a good cyclist, so I'm signing up, and that's what brought you to the event, you're gonna be disappointed. And after it's done, you're going to be salty. And you're probably going to post something on social media that looks like an attack on the race or Leadville or the organizers, and you're going to look like an asshole. Nobody will see past your insults, even if you make some valid points in your self-pitying diatribe. No race is free from critique, and there are many ways this race could be improved. I haven't been to a race yet that couldn't be improved on multiple fronts. But guess what? The logistical challenges that the Leadville 100 MTB has are just like the climbs, descents, and congestion. Exactly as you've heard. So coming out swinging on social media against this race, expect people to swing back. There are folks involved in this race who have put their entire lives into the event. I did the event and completed just over 100 miles to do so. It sounds impressive, but the One and Done Club is not all that exclusive. There are people with 1,000 and even 2,000 Leadville miles in their legs. They've been doing this race for decades. Your Cat 3 status is cool and all that, but it's not a Leadville finish. Or multiple finishes, but they're also not the same things. Trying to make them the same will just leave you disappointed. I've done BMX, cyclocross, road and trail duathlons, 24-hour events, and stage races. Leadville is all of those and none of those all at once. Leadville just is. You either love it for its uniqueness and accept that this is a mountain bike race that really isn't about cycling, or you hate it and talk shit about it because you're unhappy with X, Y, and Z. Go into it with the former perspective and you'll enjoy it a lot more. Or realistically, you'll just hate it a lot less than you will with the latter perspective. To quote the founder of this race, between the bang and the buckle, the rest is up to you. To take that a step further, between the finish line and feelings about the race, there's acceptance. If a rider didn't learn that out on the course and was only worried about their results after the fact, they missed an amazing learning opportunity and most likely wasted a day of their life because it was there for the taking.